Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Megan, and I am the host of Islands Uncovered, which is a podcast about Sandals and Beaches resorts. We start with a summary of the current deals, the 777s, interesting resort updates, and then we move into an interesting story about something from the Caribbean, from one of the islands that Sandals and Beaches is located. I always find it very interesting to do this research, and I hope you enjoy listening to things both about the resort and off the resort for your next visit. So, today, as always, we're going to start focusing on Sandals and Beaches and their sales and promos. So, their Black Friday promo was supposed to end, let's see, it will be yesterday. So, that's going to be December 2nd. And as Sandals and Beaches tends to do, which I will be honest, drives me a little bit crazy, just because they do this every time. So it's very predictable. They extended the sale. So now the Black Friday sale is extended through Monday, December 8th. And typically they won't extend twice. So I do imagine that the sale will end on Monday. As a travel advisor, a reminder, I don't work for Sandals and Beaches. I'm not employed by them. And so I am not privy to this information in advance. When I'm helping clients get booked, when that original sale date says it ends on a certain day, I have to assume that it's going to end. Now, most of the time, will they extend the sale? Yeah, they do this a lot. But if you're looking in the future, I wouldn't bank on it just because you don't know. You don't know. I don't know. I almost wish that they wouldn't do it and they would just put the real end date in there. But this is a good sale. So, it is going to benefit you if you are still looking to book. They have some higher resort instant credits that are going to be applied to your room. The spa credit is at $200 for any bookings of 5 nights or more at any resort, any room category. That's very good. There's the airfare credit for 7 or more nights, keeping in mind you do have to book your flights through Sandals. A lot of my clients don't do this very often because it doesn't allow you as much control over your flights, but I'm happy to talk you through that if you had questions. And then there's the percentages off, and this can all be paired with the 777s that I'm going to talk about now. One difference, they did adjust the online booking credit. I will say that. So what they did is they started the sale off with a $100 online booking bonus. Then they upped it to 250 just for a couple days around Monday. They did, I think it was Sunday through Tuesday. You could get $250 instead of 100s. And now it is back down to 100. So they did adjust the sale slightly today. But overall, the sale is still giving pretty good rates, especially if you can package it with one of these rooms that are on 777 that I'm going to talk about now. So, if you are new to Sandals or Beaches and listening to this for the first time, the 777 rooms are 7 rooms at Sandals, 7 rooms at Beaches. They are an additional 7% off for 1 week. The rooms get released on Wednesday morning and they will stay 7% off for bookings made through the following Tuesday. And then the next Wednesday, they change again and you get a new batch of 7 rooms. Again, I don't know what the rooms are going to be in advance. I do keep a big spreadsheet tracking them. And so when I have people reach out, I always can give them a heads up if a room that they're looking at does tend to go on sale. If you have questions about this, please reach out to me. As I say every week, my services are free. I just helped a ton of people get some really good deals on these Black Friday promos. And I do always try to get you the best deal. I had 2 clients last week that didn't even know about the free anniversary night that they could get. And yes, my commission will go down because I helped them get a free night on their trip. But I always try to help people get the best rates. I'm never going to try to upsell you or block you from that. So, if you have interest in any of this, please just let me know, reach out, and let's talk about the rooms that are on sale this week. So, I pulled it up this morning. So, I always do this right away when I'm working out in the morning. I'll pull up the rooms just because honestly, I'm very curious what they are going to put up on sale And I also look because if one of my clients has these rooms booked and then it goes on sale at a lower rate, I can go in and adjust that and bring their rate down for them. That doesn't happen all the time, but I do like to keep an eye on it. So, the good thing about this week is that there is a mix of the luxury level, club level, and butler rooms on sale, which is nice. Sometimes it's really butler heavy, but this week there's a good mix. But the bad part, I mean, I don't know if it's bad, but it's kind of the same resorts. So it's different rooms at the same resort. So let's kind of talk through that. We've got the luxury category, the entry level category. We've got rooms at Curacao, and we have rooms at the Grand St. Lucian. So the luxury room category is the entry level room category. There's no room service included with these rooms, but it's a great room category to get on the resort, and it's all inclusive. So it doesn't matter what room you're in, you still have access to all of the food and drinks and water sports and all that kind of stuff. So if you're just looking for a nice room to sleep and you don't need a bunch of extra amenities, these are great choices. The luxury level at Curacao, because Curacao is one of these Sandals 2.0 resorts, these rooms are going to be really nice. I mean, I've stayed in them. They're modern and large, and they've got great views. So, any of the Sandals 2.0 properties, even if you book into that entry level luxury category, you're still going to get a really good room. Now, the Grand, it's just a little bit older of a resort. It hasn't been updated as recently. I mean, Curaçao's new. So it's just a little bit older of a property. The rooms are a little bit smaller. And so it's still a nice room. It's that luxury level. If you're just looking to get to St. Lucia, this is a great deal. It's the Caribbean honeymoon walkout. So it's a walkout room on the main floor. So now we'll move over into the club level room. So going back to Royal Barbados, there's two Sandals properties right next to each other in Barbados, and it's Sandals Barbados and Sandals Royal Barbados. And if you stay at one, you have access to both. This week, the room is at Royal Barbados, and it's a club level room. It is the South Seas Crystal Lagoon club level room. Last week, there was a swim up. This is just in the South Seas Village. I'm happy to send you information, maps, so you can see where that would be. And then the other club level room is at Ochi, Sandals Ochi in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. We've been at Ochi for quite a few weeks. Last week there was a butler room. This week we've got the honeymoon hideaway luxury club level garden cottages. So these are the garden cottages on the beach side of that very large resort. These were on 777 a few weeks ago, so I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern with these, but there's not a lot of these rooms, and some people really like them because they are a little bit quieter, tucked away in the main building. So if you have interest in these, this week is a great week to snatch one of these up. And then lastly, we have our butler rooms. So these are the highest level category. You get your butler to save you spots on the beach or by the pool or bring you lunch or drinks or really take care of whatever you need. Major perk getting you into the restaurants at the times that you want. You don't need a butler, but it's a really nice splurge if you're celebrating something special or if you just want that extra level of service. So the butler rooms, we've got three. Two of them are at the other two resorts in St. Lucia. Halcyon has a butler room. This has been a trend. It's a very, very small resort. It's got a really nice beach. People love to go here if they want a really quiet, intimate stay. And then you can always go visit the other two properties in St. Lucia. But it is a very small property. And then the other room is the Sunset Bluff Ocean View one bedroom butler suite at Sandals Regency Latak. This is a really popular resort recently for some honeymooners that I've been booking, just because the price point is a little bit lower than at the Grand. So you can tend to get into these higher room categories for the same price as some of the lower levels over at the Grand St. Lucian. It's built into a bluff, so you have some excellent views, especially these butler suites. They are up on the bluff, but just know there's a lot of steps. I love to send my clients maps and let them know where their rooms are going to be, just so that you have a good idea before you book. But I do really love Sandals Latak. My personal preference is for the restaurants at Latak compared to any of the other two in St. Lucia. And then lastly, we have the Butler Villa Suite with the private pool at Sandals St. Vincent. So I love Sandals St. Vincent. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's my favorite property. I know it's the newest one, but it's really nice. And these Butler Villa Suites are located. So if you imagine the big main pool in St. Vincent. On one side, there are the taller buildings that have the luxury rooms and the club level rooms and the swim ups. And the other side of that big pool, there are all of these little cottages. And these are where the butler villas are, most of them. There's the over the water bungalows too, down, you know, on the water. And then there's also some beachfront butler villas as well. There's less foot traffic. It's more quiet. You have more privacy over on this side, and so if you are looking for a butler option at Sandals St. Vincent, this is a great one. You have a private pool in the back. Is not quite as expensive of a room as some of the beachfront ones or the ones that have a fully separate bedroom area and living room area. This one has the king bed and couch and chair and stuff all in the same room, but it's a big room and it looks right out over that private pool. And you just have these garden views and it's just really serene and quiet. And if I ever can get back to St. Vincent, which I definitely am going to do, these are going to be on my top of my list to stay in one of these little villas. I love them. And huge perk that you don't get at any other Sandals resort. If you stay in a butler room at Sandals St. Vincent, you have the option of going to the resort by boat as opposed to by like van or private transfer on the roads. So you go from the airport to the marina and then you go on the boat and then the boat pulls right up onto a pier where you meet your butler and they show you to your room. It's just this really high-end experience. So those are the 7 rooms at Sandals this week. So the beaches in Turks and beaches in Negril, there are 7 separate rooms that are on 777 this week for them. In Turks and Caicos, we have in the Key West Village a 2-bedroom, 2-story concierge suite. These are great if you have a larger family. They sleep up to 6. It's got 2 bedrooms, both with king beds and then a trundle and a pullout that you can use. And the Key West Village is a little bit more quiet. We've got the Italian Village. Every week there's a room, I think, from the Italian Village. But these are the penthouses, concierge family suite with the kids' room. Italian Village, as we've talked about before, all these rooms are pretty much the same. King bed, patio or balcony overlooking the Italian pool, which is currently the main pool at the resort. Separate room with a sliding door that has the bunk beds and the pullout for the kids. And everybody shares a bathroom, but it's pretty big. And then the kids have their own sink and TV and stuff in their room. So these are the penthouses. So on the top floor, and they're giving you the ocean view. So these are going to typically be a little bit more expensive than those basic ones. But the Italian Village is super popular and it's a great watching for these 777s to get into that village is always a good idea. And then we've got one more in the Key West Village. We have the Key West 1-bedroom concierge villa suite. So these are a little bit smaller because they just have the 1-bedroom with the king bed and then the trundle bed in the family room area. But it does give you a little bit of privacy for the people separated from the bedroom and the pullout, which is nice then, and as opposed to all being in the same room. And then we've got a big room on sale over at Beaches Negril. So Negril is opening up on December 6th. They are ready to welcome people back. And this is a 3-bedroom. So it's got 2 bedrooms with king beds, a bedroom with 2 double beds. And then there's also a twin day bed and a trundle in the family room area. This is on 777 this week. Max occupancy is 12. You could get 2 families in one of these and have a really great time. And then to round it out at Beaches Negril, there are 3 other rooms. There's an ocean view concierge room. There's a tropical ocean view concierge family room. This actually, it sounds small, but it's quite big because it's 2 connecting rooms. One room has a king bed and one has 2 double beds. So it is slightly smaller than that 3-bedroom that we talked about, but still gives everybody quite a bit of space. And then there's the entry-level Grand Lux family rooms and the oversized concierge family suite. all of these names, they sound very similar. That's what I'm here to help you with, is to let you know the nuances of all these different rooms so that I can help place you in a room that is best for you. So that is the overview of the 777s. Like I said, the Black Friday sale is still going on. It goes through December 8th, and I imagine that it is going to expire after that. So if you are interested in taking advantage of it, let's see how we can stack these with the 7 sevens. I'm very happy to help you. All you have to do is reach out and I can send you as much information as you need. So next week, I'll be able to update you on the new 777 rooms and also the new sale. I'm very curious to see what Sandals closes out the year with for their promos, and I will let you know as much information as I have on that next week. So hopefully now you're going to stick around and listen to the story. I know that we have been in Jamaica for the past month, focusing on that island after Hurricane Melissa. We got some really cool stories. We got a ghost story. We got a food story. We had a great variety there. But today we are going to move over to the Bahamas. So, as you know, Sandals has Sandals Royal Bahamian over in the Bahamas. That is located in Nassau. It is a fabulous option if you are looking for a resort closer to the US. The Bahamas are very close. And Nassau, where this resort is located, it's like 15 minutes from the airport. So it's super easy. You fly in, you are, you're at the resort and on the beach in very little time. It's a smaller resort, but they just updated the whole east wing. So I haven't been there in I'd say like 2 years, but I'm excited to go back and see all the renovations that have been done. And my husband and I really loved the private island that they have there. You can go out there and it's a little bit quieter. They've got way more beachfront since the resort is on the smaller side. And yeah, that is currently the only resort that Sandals has in the Bahamas right now. They used to have Sandals Exuma, but that is closed currently. They are renovating it and making it into a beaches. So my family is super excited to go to that when it opens again because I was able to go there for work, but they were never able to see it. So once it opens as the beaches, we're all going back. But what we're going to talk about today in the Bahamas is not located near where the Sandals property is, nor is it's not on the same island. So we are going to talk about the lost city of Bimini, or Bimini Road, as some people call it. So if you don't know, the Bahamas is actually made up of like 700 different islands, which is kind of crazy to think about because I don't, a lot of these Caribbean islands, like when I went down to St. Vincent, they were talking about, oh, we're actually, and I don't remember, I'll have to look it up for that episode, but multiple different islands. And it's just something you don't think about when you're traveling. You kind of just think, oh, I'm going to the Bahamas and I'm landing on this island and this is the Bahamas. That's not how it is there. It's not how it is in St. Vincent. It's not how it is in Turks and Caicos. So I thought it was super interesting. It's about 700 islands, over 2,400 Ks, but only about 30 are actually inhabited. So obviously the island where Sandals Royal Bahamian is one of the inhabited islands, right? But the island that are going to, Bimini, is also one of the inhabited islands. And Bimini is located about 50 nautical miles, like west northwest of Nassau. And then so it's also, like only 50 miles east of Florida. So it's kind of right in between the Florida coast and Nassau. So this is just a small little island there. And Bimini was one of the fishing capitals of the Bahamas, and Ernest Hemingway actually lived there from 1935 to 1937. And with it being a fishing village, I read that this place may have inspired him to write The Old Man in the Sea, which I thought was really, really interesting. Another major figure in history that is known to have been to Bimini is Ponce de Leon. He was the explorer and he looked to Bimini for the Fountain of Youth. So there are a lot of like these mystical vibes happening happening on this island where many people have searched or thought they have discovered some of these mythical things that we've talked about throughout history. But one of a real piece of history about Bimini is that the Bimini Bay Rod and Gun Club was the largest hotel in the Bahamas when it was built in the early 1920s. And it also had the only casino in the Bahamas. So it drew a lot of tourist action. One thing it also did was it stored liquor that was smuggled into the United States during the Prohibition. This Bimini, the island of Bimini, is the closest island in the Bahamas to the United States. Like I said, it's only like 50 miles off the coast of Florida. So it was a great spot for some liquor smuggling back in the 20s when we were going through Prohibition. The Rod and Gun Club, it's had kind of a hard time. It got destroyed by a hurricane in 1926 and they rebuilt it, and then it got damaged again in 1936. And then in 2006, there was even a fire that destroyed it and somebody died in the fire. So it's had kind of a hard time, but it's a historical landmark at the spot. And I found it was just kind of interesting just based on those ties to the United States. So if you haven't heard of Bimini Road, what people thought and possibly still think that it is part of the lost city of Atlantis, which many people have heard about. But I'll tell you a little bit about Atlantis just before we get into Bimini. So, Atlantis was a legendary island that was first described by the Greek philosopher Plato. This is way back in 360 BC. And he had the story that this was a technologically advanced and powerful civilization that essentially sank to the bottom of the sea in one day. And most scholars thought that Plato created this story as an allegory, moral and political, and just to teach people a lesson, as many stories do. But it fascinated people, and because there were such vivid details, like him describing these concentric rings that the city was laid out in. If you ever look at a picture of Atlantis, even though you're not gonna see a real picture because this is a story, but people have recreated what they thought Plato was describing, and it's got these rings. It's like an island in the middle, and then there's water going around it like a moat, and then there's another ring on the outside of that. I think there's about 3. So even though Plato said that this city happened like 9,000, 10,000 years before his time, which made the story extremely unlikely, there were so many explorers and archaeologists and people all over the world who searched for Atlantis. There are people today searching for the lost city of Atlantis. And some of the places that they have looked have been Greece and Santorini. They've looked in Spain. They've looked in the Sahara Desert. And the story I'm going to tell you about today is people who thought they discovered it in the Caribbean, right off the coast of Bimini. So, how this came about is on September 2nd of 1968, there were 3 divers, Joseph, Jacques, and Robert, and they decided to go scuba diving off the coast of Bimini. Great scuba diving in the Bahamas. If you've been to the Bahamas, you know that water is just gorgeous, crystal clear. So they're diving and they get about 18 feet down and they see these just massive rectangular limestone blocks. And I encourage you to look this up because there are actual pictures of this. This is a real thing. They actually found this. And some of them are about 13 feet long and they're all arranged in these perfect rows that look like a road or some sort of pier, possibly. It does not look random at all. These look like they have been placed and they're all running. There's rows of them running parallel to each other. It's quite amazing if you look it up. So they all see this and they're excited and they come out of the water and they're just like, holy shit, I think we found the lost city of Atlantis. I don't know if they immediately thought that, but that's what this turned into. So obviously, people go, they take pictures of this, and this hits the newspapers. Journalists all over the world call it a paved road, they call it an underwater highway, and they start saying that Atlantis has been discovered. So, Bimini, which is just such a small little tiny island, it's actually only 7 miles long, the island of Bimini. It's very small. All of a sudden, everybody in the world knew where Bimini was because of this discovery. And people all started flocking to this island because they wanted to see it for themselves. So, you're saying, okay, well, Atlantis isn't real. Why did people come to this conclusion? So, here's a very weird fact that I found that if anybody tries to claim that this is the lost city of Atlantis, and they've done research on it, my guess is they are going to talk about this right here. So, 30 years before the divers made their discovery, a man from the United States named Edgar Casey, who was a psychic, a mystic or a psychic, as they describe it, in the early 1900s. So, in 1938, he was doing a reading, and I guess he got into these trances as a psychic would do, and he claimed that the evidence of Atlantis would, in the quote I found, rise near Bimini around 1968 or 1969. He said this in 1938, and the divers found it off the coast of Bimini in 1968. So he was right on the money. Whether this is Atlantis or not, he said they would find Atlantis, and then the divers found it at exactly the time that they said that he would. So that's possibly why everything was getting pieced together like this. But whether you believe, in prophecy or not, it's just a very weird coincidence where when things like this happen, you kind of scratch your head a little bit. But the people who believed in the lost city of Atlantis, they went crazy. They were like, "Oh, our prophecy, it's been fulfilled. This is it. This is the road." And like I said, divers and researchers and explorers, they all came to this teeny tiny island, and they were convinced that they were touching the lost city of Atlantis. If you look at pictures, I can see why they're going to say that. It looks like it could be a road, and it's this curve of stone blocks, and the blocks, they all look like they were placed. They don't look random. The rocks are these giant limestone slabs that look like flat pavement, and it's, imagine like a road, and then right next to them there's another row. I keep saying row and road interchangeably, I'm sorry, but there's rows of rocks lined up right next to each other, and it goes on for almost half a mile. It's not like it's just a few. It's a long time. And at the end there's like this very, if you look at pictures, it's like a very distinct curved hook at the end, like it's curving off into something. And some researchers even claim that the top blocks sit on top of these smaller, like wedge-shaped stones that support them. So that is what creates it so that they would all be level. Because if you think, oh, I'm just going to put some big blocks at the bottom of the ocean, if the ocean floor isn't level, they're not going to sit level. But if you put smaller wedges and blocks underneath them with the intention of making them level like a road, they will be level. And that's how they all sit right now. But of course, we have the skeptics. So let's hear what the skeptics claim as well. So the geologists came, and they claimed that these stones were made of what's called beach rock. And the Bahamas is full of beach rock. Beach rock is limestone that's formed from sand and shells, and they're kind of cemented together with what's called calcium carbonate. And over time, the rock can fracture. And when it fractures, it can fracture making straight lines, which looks like these block shaped pieces. So there was a geologist, and his name was Eugene Chin. And he claimed that the Bimini Road was just natural. He said that his team, they took samples and they dated them, and they came back between only 2,800 and 3,500 years ago. So is it old? Sure. But it's not like ancient civilization old, according to Eugene. So he said that the structure broke apart naturally, the way that sidewalks kind of crack into little pieces. Um, but other researchers went in and geologists and they tested the rocks and they said that their dating is older. And some of their dating of the rocks placed them back like tens of thousands of years old, way older than any known human settlement in that region. So the scientific community still really doesn't agree. I mean, I think they agree that they don't think this is Atlantis because if you have that scientific brain, you don't believe that Atlantis maybe even exists. However, they keep dating these rocks. Nobody can get a clear answer. And every time somebody thinks that they've solved it, a new question pops up. And so the scientists really can't agree on when they think that these rocks were formed or what they formed from. So then we have a couple other theories too. So we've got the scientific theory, we have the Atlantis theory because it's this road. And like I said, it curves at the end. So that kind of mimics those curved rings that we always hear about with Atlantis. Then we have an author named Gavin Menzies, and he suggested that these Chinese fleets reached the Americas in the 1400s, which is way before Christopher Columbus came over and reached the Americas. He thinks that the Chinese got there first and that they created Bimini Road and they used it as a repair harbor for their boats. Most historians disagree. You don't really hear a lot about this. Honestly, he's an author. I don't know where he gets this idea from, where his facts. Maybe I should have researched it more, but to me it seemed like an idea that was out there enough that I wanted to mention it, but it didn't really have anything behind it, so I didn't get too far into it. And then lastly, there is a new age group who they believe that this is part of Atlantis. However, they believe that Atlantis is one of this, they call the power nodes that connect the Bermuda Triangle. So this would be like a corner here. It's a power node and it's almost a energy source of the universe that is powering the Bermuda Triangle. And people, a lot of people, not a lot, I don't know, some people buy into this. It's called the spiritual energy grid theory. And if you get behind it, I don't know, maybe go check it out because there's a lot of visitors who report strange sensations while they're diving there. So maybe power node, maybe not, your call. But regardless of what you think, whether you believe in Atlantis or power nodes, or just that it happens to be some naturally formed rock, the story continues to captivate people today. And everybody loves the story of the lost city of Atlantis. It's just kind of a reminder that maybe the world still has some secrets out there. And there's still a lot of people who go to Bimini and dive to see the road, and it's just become part of Bimini's identity. I mean, everybody comes here looking to get a little taste of that magic. So that's it. You can decide for yourself what you believe, but that road is out there. I encourage you to look at pictures online. I think it's really interesting, and there's no clear answer here. So you can draw your own conclusions. Thank you so much again for listening to Islands Uncovered. I really appreciate your support and listening, following the podcast. Every week, you'll get those Sandals and Beaches updates, and hopefully, you enjoy these stories. I encourage you to follow me on social media. Facebook, Instagram has the beautiful pictures. TikTok has the sale updates as they come out, travel tips, things like that. And as I mentioned, I will be heading down to Jamaica in about 2 weeks. So if you are interested in seeing how pictures of how the island's doing, Sandals Duns River and Sandals Ochi in particular, I encourage you to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I will be posting photos there, and I'll of course be chatting about it on the podcast. I am actually going to try. I'm going to try to maybe get an interview while I'm down there. I'm not sure if any of the employees will give me an interview, but stay tuned. I'm going to try. And I can't wait to get back to Jamaica for myself. And I can't wait to help book your next trip to Jamaica because it is a fabulous place, or the Bahamas. All right. Reach out and we'll get you set up at a resort that you love. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.